Today, millions of Americans feel disillusioned, trapped in a system where their voices seem to echo unheard. Outcomes often feel disconnected from the majority's wishes, breeding frustration and distrust. But the story of democracy is one of adaptation and progress, and change is within reach. By addressing three transformative reforms, reapportioning the House of Representatives, implementing ranked choice voting, RCV, and introducing judicial term limits, we can rebuild a system that is more representative, inclusive, and just. Consider Maria, a teacher in California, whose vote for president feels like a whisper against the roar of smaller states. "It's frustrating knowing my voice carries less weight just because of where I live," she says. Or think about Alex, a young voter in Maine, passionate about third-party candidates but wary of spoiling the outcome for his preferred major party. Their frustrations echo the experiences of countless Americans who feel trapped by a system that doesn't fully reflect their values or choices. At the heart of this inequity is the outdated size of the House of Representatives, fixed at 435 seats since 1911. In that year, the U.S. population stood at 93.86 million. Today, it exceeds 341.8 million, a staggering increase of 3.64 times. Yet representation has remained frozen in time. This stagnation has left millions of Americans underrepresented, distorting the balance of power and amplifying the influence of smaller states in presidential elections. By increasing the number of House seats to approximately 1,583, 435 x 3.64, representation would reflect population growth, giving populous states like California and Texas their fair share of influence. Reapportionment wouldn't just fix congressional representation, it would recalibrate the Electoral College. The number of electoral votes a state receives is tied to its congressional delegation, meaning more proportional representation in the House makes presidential elections more reflective of the popular vote. While the Electoral College would remain in name, this recalibration would align its outcomes more closely with the will of the people. And here's the best part. This reform doesn't require a constitutional amendment. Congress can enact it with a simple majority vote. Paired with filibuster reform in the Senate and measures like banning partisan gerrymandering, this approach offers a pragmatic path to restoring fairness and inclusion. But representation isn't just about numbers, it's also about choice. That's where ranked choice voting, RCV, comes in. Already in use in Maine and Alaska, RCV lets voters rank candidates by preference, ensuring that winners secure broad majority support. No more spoiler effect. No more fear that voting your conscience might cost your preferred candidate the race. Instead, RCV empowers voters to make authentic choices while encouraging candidates to appeal to a broader spectrum of voters. Campaigns become less divisive, focused more on ideas than attacks. Countries like Australia and New Zealand have long used RCV to foster collaborative, less polarized politics. Imagine an America where elections amplify your voice rather than drown it in a sea of strategic calculations. The third reform tackles another source of public frustration, the judiciary. Under the current system, lifetime appointments to federal courts often lead to long-term ideological entrenchment, with some judges shaping policy decades after their appointments. An 18-year cap on judicial tenure, followed by reassignment to other courts, would address this issue while respecting the Constitution's guarantee of lifetime service. Regular turnover would reduce the politicization of judicial appointments, ensuring a judiciary that evolves with the times. Judges would also gain diverse experiences, serving in varied legal contexts and regional dynamics, ultimately strengthening their rulings. Countries like Germany and South Korea already use term limits or age caps for their highest courts, showing how such measures can enhance judicial independence and credibility. For Americans increasingly skeptical of the courts, judicial term limits could restore trust by demonstrating a commitment to impartiality and fairness. These reforms, expanding the House, implementing RCV, and capping judicial terms, aren't abstract ideas. They're practical solutions, grounded in historical precedent and global best practices. From the progressive era's expansion of voting rights to the civil rights movement, America has continually evolved to meet the demands of justice and representation. These changes are the next step in that journey, ensuring that democracy remains vibrant, adaptive, and accountable. But democracy isn't self-sustaining, it requires action. Congress can pass reapportionment with a simple majority vote. States can adopt RCV today, following the trail blazed by pioneers like Maine. Judicial reforms, too, are within reach if the public demands them. The question we must ask ourselves is this: what kind of democracy do we want to leave behind? One where power is concentrated and distorted, or one that truly reflects the voices of all its citizens? The time to act is now. The future of our democracy depends on it. Please subscribe to the Intellectualist's new YouTube channel, where we present insightful videos analyzing the current events shaping the world. Turn on notifications to receive the latest updates from the channel.